Yo, y'all, what's good, everybody? Hope everybody feeling blessed on this beautiful Sunday morning. It's crazy because I don't do videos. I know I said this last time. I had a couple people say, "Oh, you doing videos now?" I just, I don't know. It's things that you want to say, maybe get off your chest. That I've always been a quiet person for the most part. I've always played the back. Been a little more reserved, even a little shy. So I've never been in front of the camera type dude. If so, I've always been a little uncomfortable. You know what I mean? But still enjoy this parts of it. I enjoy being able to express myself. I'm a talker, so I talk a lot. So, but today I just want to talk about something that I haven't spoken about. So it's story time, right? And this is how I was involved with the $1 million worth of game podcast early on. I'm not saying I was the person that came up with the concept or anything like that, but I initiated things, if you will, right? So let me start from the beginning. I have relationships with everybody that was involved, or everybody that's involved with $1 million worth of game from its inception, as far as the podcast is concerned, because we all know that Gilly was doing $1 million worth of game on Instagram before the podcast. So it started back in 2017 maybe. I was working on a mixtape project with an artist that I was managing, and I was EPing his mixtape project. The project was called My Turn. His name was I ain't gonna say his name. That dude, after investing a lot of money, time, energy, and effort, he a squad hopper, and I came across that, a lot, trying to do the music thing. But that's a side note. That's something else. But anyway. I had an idea because of the relationships I have, in the city of Philly, especially in the music, circle in Philly, that I would get Wallow to intro the mixtape, and I would get Gilly to get on the track, with the artist that I was doing the mixtape for. So, I put the call in. I talked to Gil. Gil said sure. He met me down at the studio. Wasn't for free, of course, but he definitely gave me a love price. Him and Wallow. So after the business was done, we're in the studio. Wallow intros the mixtape, My Turn, and after the intro track is done, then Gilly jumps on another track called In Case You Didn't Know. All these things are, out there. I think because I own the rights to the music, so just in case you didn't know, featuring Gilly is out on, all the digital distribution platforms. But if you go on YouTube and type in DCH Entertainment, My Turn, I believe, you'll see that we did a little video clip. Shout out to my man Jay Rich Films. Jay Rich shot a little video for me, a little promo video, while we were in the studio, so that's up on YouTube. But anyway, when we had some time to talk, me, Gil, and Wallow, I'm just, looking at the dynamic like everybody else was, when they were on social media kidding around and wrestling and tussling with each other and going back and forth, bickering or whatever, how entertaining that was. And I had mentioned to Gilly and Wallow in that moment, I said, man, y'all should do a podcast, man. And Wallow's exact words were, and this was when podcast was still fairly new. Wallow's exact words was, man, other people had said the same thing. I'm like, yeah, man, y'all dynamic, man. It's super entertaining, man. Y'all should do a podcast. So, but then I, my business brain was like, you know what? Let me see how I can get in on this in a bigger way. So I'm like, hey, Gil, what if I can assemble a camera crew, and I can follow you around the designated times that you want us to film, capture this footage, edit it, package it, and then try to sell it to a network, and we own the rights to it. Gil was like, cool. He was with it. But it really fell on me to kind of pull everything together. And, at that time, with everything going on, I couldn't assemble like the necessary crew that I needed to make that happen. But anyway, fast forward a little bit. I'm still living in Philly. I'm talking to my man Devin Wade. Y'all know him as Dev Nasty, formerly of the $1 Million Worth of Game podcast. Now Dev is doing his own podcast. The thing about Dev, man, I knew Dev since he was like 19. I had an independent record label back in 99, 2000 called Hellraiser Records, and I had a production deal with Jive Records. And I was dealing with some artists out of Jersey. And that's how I met, Dev, because Dev's from Jersey. And to be quite honest with you, when I met him, like, we got in the studio, and when he rapped, like, Dev was like one of the most talented rappers I ever heard in my life. Like, as a 19-year-old, like, his concepts, wordplay, delivery, like, this dude was just, he's an MC. I think to this day, if Dev wanted to get in the booth and spit, he probably could. You know what I mean? But not only that, Dev is a very talented artist. As a matter of fact, he drew my my very first Hellraiser record logo, which is a dope logo. It's like a fireball with fire coming off of it. He wrote out Hellraiser in a real ill way, man. I wish I still had these things, man. But but I don't. But yeah, Dev is real talented dude. And not just that, man. Like, he got us in the Source. I have a Source magazine. I think it's the Source from 2000 with Eminem on the cover. Dev did the legwork on that. Dev got us in the Source. They mentioned Hellraiser Records. They mentioned, Camden, New Jersey, which Dev, Garcia Vega, and Breeze, the producer, they were all repping Camden. And Dev actually even did the artwork in that particular article, which is really, really dope. So Dev all around has always been a real talented dude. So anyway, I'm talking to Dev, right? And Dev had like a studio set up over in Pennsauken. It's like a building where he did recording, he did videography, photography. Again, this dude, like, he can do everything, right? So he was in the process of telling me that, he was building out a podcast studio. Like, man, that's dope. I said, when you're done, man, let me know. You know what I mean? And, if I'm still in Philly, maybe we can make something happen. Like, cool. So fast forward, I moved to Georgia. Talking to Dev. Dev shoots me pictures of the podcast studio he put together. I'm like, yo, this is so dope. This is fly. You know what I mean? But I wasn't in Philly, so I'm like, all right, well, who can I plug him in with, right? So the first dude I thought about plugging him in with, Sucker Time. I'm glad, it didn't work out, because I would have put Dev in a bad position with this dude. Dude is a leech, you know what I'm saying? I made a previous video about this dude, right? So, but either way, I reached out to him trying to show love, but boy wasn't in a position to even do anything on that level at that time. So I'm like, all right, well, boom. I said, Dev, you mind if I reach out to Gil? He said, yeah, no problem. You know what I mean? Yeah, definitely reach out to Gil, because I remembered the conversation I had with Gil and Wallow in the studio. So, make a long story longer, I reached out to Gil. I text him. Right, I'm telling him, hey man, look, if you're interested in doing the podcast, blah blah blah. I may have a spot for you. You're on Wallow, blah blah blah. And instead of like responding back in text, Gil called me. Now, mind you, I got all the text messages to prove between me and Dev. I got the text message I sent to Gil, and I got the timestamp and the date from when Gil actually called me to talk about it. So when he called me, I'm like, yeah, man, my homie over in Jersey in Pennsauken, he got a podcast studio. You might be able to, get in there, while over if y'all want to do this podcast out there, everything's already set up for y'all. And and I said his name is Dev, and Gil was like, who, Dev? And I forgot. It's another thing I forgot. Gil knew Dev already, and you know how Gil knew Dev? A year or so before that, when I was really like heavy into the music, and I was always down Batcave studio recording. Gil comes in one day. He had recorded a song. He said, "Man, I need a spot to do a video." Boom! I knew Dev had that spot over there in Pennsauken because I had been there, and I've done some things over there already. So let me call my man Dev. He got a spot. He got like these rooms. Like Dev's setup was so. It's probably still is the same way, but it's so dope that he has sections of this building that like different rooms, like different vibes. You know what I'm saying? So I'm like, man, that'd be perfect for a video, like that type of thing. So I called Dev, like, Dev, Gil want to come over and shoot something in your spot. Dev was like, cool, no problem. So we all went over there. That video is still on YouTube as well. I'm in the video. My cousin Diz is in the video with me. That's because I had to go over there to make the introduction. At that point, Dev and Gil didn't know each other. But that's how Dev and Gil met. And so when I was talking to him about the podcast thing later on, and he said, Dev, that's how he knew Dev from that initial introduction that, I plugged him in with for the video shoot. But anyway, he said, yeah, give me his number. So I hit Dev. Dev, it's cool if I give Gil your number? He said, yeah, no problem. Gave Gil the number, and I ain't hearing nothing else about it. Months later, I see it on YouTube. $1 Million Worth of Game podcast, and who's sitting there right with him? Dev. I thought that was like completely dope. I'm like, damn, that's what's up. They made it happen. They connected it. You know what I mean? This can be really big, right? So, as you know, the story went, the business wasn't necessarily right between them, and things kind of went left. However, both of them, Dev, Gil, and Wallow, they all are successful in their own individual rights. Dev is doing his thing with his podcast. We all know what Gil and Wallow is doing with their podcast, $1 Million Worth of Game. But I did play, a part in it, even if it's a small part. And the reason I feel the need to tell this story is because I've heard people involved tell the story of how, everything came about, and I'm left out of it, of course. You know what I mean? And I don't believe it's, done purposely. There's a lot going on, during that time, and, people's recollection of things, sometimes is different. You know what I mean? So it ain't no slight against, them. Speaking of Gil, Wallow, and Dev, this is more so like, I had to speak my truth. I stayed quiet about it. I seen an interview with Dev, and they asked Dev, how did everything come about, and he basically said, well, I knew Gil, and it's true, he did know Gil. He knew Gil from a previous, introduction, when I brought Gil up there to shoot the video. So he took it from that point. Like, I knew Gil, and then Gil came to do the podcast, so he might not felt the need to kind of go and go too deep about it. Like, oh yeah, my homie, you know what I mean? I told him I had the podcast studio, and then he hit Gil, and he plugged me in with Gil, and we worked it out, and then da-da-da-da-da. So, again, I'm not saying this because I need any recognition or anything. I'm happy for them. I can sit back and be like, yo, and be content and happy with the fact that, I played some kind of part in that I was able to piece that together. Not to say that Gil and Wallow wouldn't have done a podcast anyway, with somebody else, or maybe, found another avenue. But the fact that I was able to, connect those guys together, and they all in some way benefited from that connection, you know what I mean? It's really dope, you know what I mean? Because for me, I've always tried to be like a solid dude, and I've always tried to recognize, okay, if I put this person with this person, then boom, this person's looking for this person's looking for that, and I can connect them. Now, I've always been that dude, you know what I'm saying? So whether it been, legally or illegally, I could connect people together, and then, and they tend to benefit from those things. But shout out to Gilly Wallow, shout out to Dev, shout out to everything that they're doing. But I feel like I just had to, speak my truth. Not to get morbid, but I'm not always gonna be here. Everybody gonna face that day, you know, which is their last day. And I just want my story told. You know what I mean? You know, if anybody look back and, you know, ask about, you know, what I was into, what I was doing, or what I might have played a part in, I just want the truth to be out there. You know what I mean? So shout out to $1 Million Worth of Game. Shout out to Dev, aka Dev Nasty, aka Son of Robin. And yo, I wish them nothing but success, man. It makes me proud when I see these brothers, man, doing their thing. Because I've known them, you know, for years. Me and Gil go back to 9th grade in high school. Like I said, I knew Dev since he was 19 years old, man, a pup. But, you know, extremely, extremely talented. I could see that this brother was going somewhere, was going to do big things, you know what I mean? So that's my story time for today. I got a gazillion more stories. I think I'm going to start clipping them up. It's kind of therapeutic for me to get these things out and talk about these things. I don't know, maybe I'll give y'all the story about, you know, how me and one of the artists that was signed to my label back in the day got into a fist fight in a recording studio. So that might be my next story. But shout out to everybody, man. If one person listen to this, cool. You know what I mean? At least you know the truth. If more than one person listen to it, then that's great as well. But I just wanted to get it out there. This is Qayyim Cutta, and this is Story Time, and this is the part that I played in $1 Million Worth of Game podcast. Peace.